So this video is going to be a little bit different from what I usually do, but I just had to talk about this time, share this, because I know I'm not the only one that goes through this. And if you deal with some elements of perfectionism and it causes you stress sometimes, then hang on with me because I think we can work some things out. Now, when I think about the term perfectionism, I never would have called myself a perfectionist because to me that always sounded like everything perfect, right? But I'm figuring out now that being a perfectionist can be in just certain areas. I know that's how it is for me because, like, for example, I keep my house pretty clean, but I am definitely not a perfectionist in that. It doesn't have to be everything perfect and manicured. And I can live with that. It doesn't cause me any problems. And so I've always figured for stuff like that, of course, I'm not a perfectionist, but then I started seeing some trends in me that do cause me some stress and realizing that that must be a type of perfectionism and something that I've really got to deal with and ask myself some pretty deep questions about that I'm going to ask me and I'm going to ask you to think about that for yourself. But basically, what I've been dealing with is the inability to forgive myself for messing up on certain things, like especially if I have a streak going for something. Like, there's some games that you can play where you can get a streak and it tells you how many days that you've gone without missing or without losing. You do that like with Wordle and other games that you play on your phone. Yeah, I know I play way too many games on my phone, but uh, these things, you can get a good streak going and feel good about it. It might be something a little bit more useful, like Duolingo. You can use that application to use languages, and it's the same thing. You get a streak going, and I haven't done that one, but I think you get some kind of extra things if you don't break your streak. So it's real habit forming to need to get a streak or be constant in something. And it ends up giving you this kind of a dopamine thing, and it feels so good. And I guess a lot of people don't end up depending on that so much. But I've seen with me, it turns into kind of a perfectionism to where if I mess up on that after a long streak or something, I find it hard to deal with it. I mean, it does sound stupid, especially if it's just a game, right? And now that I'm talking about it, it does sound pretty stupid even to me. But I think you get what I'm saying. And for you, it might be something else. It might not be anything to do with games, but something where you make yourself be really consistent on something. And if if you mess up, you just feel bad. It's like, oh, I had this streak going, or I was so consistent that I never missed X thing, whatever it was that you're trying to be really consistent about. Now, for me, I really saw that happening when a few years back, I got myself this Apple Watch here. And mostly I got it, well, to tell the time, of course, and because it has all the stuff of connecting with the phone and all, and that's really great. But one big thing I got it for was for the exercise and calories fitness, basically. And so I started using it for that. And of course, it gets these rings that you can see how well you're doing with being up for a certain amount of hours, not sitting too much, burning calories, minutes of exercise, and like that. And so I got it, started using it. It was set at a very nice number that I could deal with. And I was getting all of my rings every day. And it went on and on for days and weeks and months. And I was not losing a single day until it got to the point to where I'd have a little problem, like my watch battery would be low and I'd have to charge it and I'd lose some time, or I'd be too busy and I wouldn't be up enough, or the worst one was I wouldn't be burning enough calories, which to me really shouldn't matter anyway, but on the watch, on the app, I didn't have all the calories burned for the day. And so I find myself in the evening doing some kind of exercise, some kind of cardio thing, because that would burn the calories fast, right before bed, just so that I could get my rings before midnight. And it started turning into kind of, I don't know, like an addiction or something. But when I saw that happen and I saw how stressed out I would be because I wasn't keeping my record going, right? And I realized this is not a good thing. And I've seen that happen in a lot of other areas too. And so if you're not into the fitness thing or the playing games, maybe it could be something like this. I would find myself knowing that, okay, I am a punctual person. I really hate being late for meetings and things because to me that is showing basically a lack of respect for other people and their time. And so I try really hard to be punctual. And I think that's a good reason and that's a good habit. And it does make me a little bit different here because I live in Guatemala. And in Latin American culture, people and relationships and other things kind of outweigh punctuality. And so being punctual isn't that important. In fact, it's rather expected that everybody's going to be somewhat late for just about anything. And so me being punctual, it I don't know, makes me look a little bit weird sometimes, actually, or I get someplace early. Whoa, that's weird. But anyway, I do like to be punctual. And I would find myself even feeling that way for a certain meeting or event, something that happens regularly, that I'm always on time. Of course, I'm always on time because I'm the punctual one, right? And if I had to be late for some reason, even if it's traffic, which of course is the big excuse usually, oh, the traffic was so bad, just an excuse, but I would always be on time, except maybe once just running a bit late, and it would stress me out. Not so much because of being late, not even so much because of what I feel about respecting people for their time, right? But it would stress me out because I was breaking my normal record. I was just, oh no, I was late, and now I can't say I'm always on time. And when I started really looking at this is where the questions come in, okay? I had to ask myself, why does it matter to me so much not to mess up on any of those things that I've mentioned? Why does it really matter? Of course, it's nice when you can do it again, keep your streak going, keep your consistency going. It's that dopamine thing that it just feels good. I did it again. I'm good for today. But I think it's a lot more than that. When I had to think about it, I was almost, I guess I was bragging to myself about myself that I can do this. I'm consistent, that I'm never late, that I'm whatever it is. Okay. And at first I started thinking, well, that just sounds like pride, which would definitely be prideful if I were bragging to somebody else, right? But somehow bragging to myself about myself, it's kind of like pumping myself up with something that doesn't matter at all. And that was the other question I had asked myself. Not just why am I doing it, but the big question, does it really matter? Okay, I broke my streak. I was late for the meeting. I didn't come prepared. I lost a game after 2 months of winning. Whatever it is, that question comes up. Does it really matter? And you know what? I've had to answer myself in that and say, really, it doesn't matter at all. It's not important, but still it felt like it was important. So I had to ask the other question, why is it so important to me? And when I really looked at it, I started seeing the answer to that. And maybe perfectionism in general, goes back to this in a lot of people. Now, I'm not a psychologist. I would have loved to have studied psychology. I think I would have been pretty good at it, but I didn't. And I have read some things and I've learned some things. I've done a whole lot of observing people. I'm a real introvert, so that makes me a people watcher, right? And so I observe and I learn things and I see kind of what makes people tick, how things work. But I'm not a psychologist, but still I could see something that, I don't know, you might, if you're dealing with some areas of perfectionism in your life, think about this too. It might apply, it might not. But I've always struggled in my life, and even up to now, still struggling somewhat, but I've always struggled with a real low self esteem, just a very low self image. And because of that, I've I grew up always thinking that I knew I was intelligent because I got decent grades and I didn't try too hard in school, but I still did okay. But somehow being intelligent or having talent to do certain things that I've done, and people say, oh, you're so good at that. Okay. Even though I knew that was there, I always thought it was unimportant, it was not valuable, and it was something that didn't matter at all. And I was somehow rather worthless and kind of stupid and backwards and introverted. Oh, golly, when I was young, very young, I felt like I went around inside a bubble. It just, that's how I felt about myself, that, I can't touch you, you can't touch me. That kind of just very isolated. Thinking back about it, back then we didn't have counselors in school and stuff like that. I could have really used some kind of counseling probably, but that's how I felt about myself. I've come an awful long way since then, but low self-esteem, it makes me look for something about myself that I can use to kind of pump myself back up again. And I really think that that's why I have this problem that I've been dealing with, of having to have something that I can hold on, that I'm consistent, I'm good, I'm perfect, I don't miss, and beat myself up when I do mess up on something. Now, I know this is just really different from the things that I usually talk about on my videos, but I just got to thinking about this so hard and finding just a little bit of light about this, that I can face the situation, ask myself the right questions about it, and keep asking. You see, I think this is what's going to do it for me, for us, if you're going through this too, but is to keep asking myself the questions. And especially the question of, does it really matter when I mess up on something? And also, thinking about it now, I think it's more important that I focus on doing well, not perfectly, but doing well with some things that really do matter, that they would really matter for me or really matter for other people in my relationships, and maybe breaking out of this introvert thing as much as I can, but actually reaching out, having things in me that engage with other people, that actually are beneficial, that are helpful in developing relationships. I'm really going to have to think about this some more after I get done with this. But it needs to stop being a stress thing and holding myself to things that don't matter. And I was thinking also, maybe one way for me to deal with this would be just to intentionally break any streaks that I'm trying to, that whenever I see myself doing that in an area, just let it fall, let it break, and see how I feel. Which answers the question, does it really matter? Really, it doesn't, because why would I be bragging to myself about something, about how good I am on something, just so that I can make myself feel better about myself? That just, that sounds awfully kind of selfish when really I need to start looking outward. So these have been my thoughts about this and kind of where I'm picking up now and moving on. But when I really started analyzing some of this, I thought, this is too good for me just to keep to myself. Okay. So if you've been dealing with any of these things, well, okay, don't let me feel like, oh, I'm the only one that ever feels that way about messing up and beating myself up for it, not forgiving myself. Okay, I hope I'm not the only one that feels this way. And I think we do need to see that perfectionism is not in everything. I don't think anybody really, well, maybe somebody goes way overboard and they have to be perfect in everything. But I think it narrows down to being in just certain areas of our lives. And when we can see that we're stressing ourselves out because of things that don't need to stress us out, it doesn't have to work that way. To me, that's wasting a lot of personal time, personal energy, emotional energy that could be focused on something that's a whole lot better. So, if any of this resonates with you, please let me know in the comments. Please don't let me feel like I'm the only one going through this. And if you have stuck with me this far in this video, I want you to know I really appreciate it, because I know that we share so much. I mean, I am not, okay, I am unique and you are unique in so many ways, but in the ways that make us want to think, oh, I'm not just unique, I'm weird and nobody else goes through what I'm going through. That's a lie. Everything we go through, you're going to find somebody else that's going through the same thing, and somebody else that either they can help you, or if you start to get a grip on some of this stuff, like I'm starting to get, you can help somebody else too. So I hope that this might have been that for you. So that's all I've got for right now. But hang on. Don't stress yourself out. Really, I think we're doing a lot better than we think we are. So thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next one.